All right, guys. So thank you so much for the support. Today we're gonna be reacting to why Europe doesn't build skyscrapers. Interesting. I know there's a couple cities that they have skyscrapers, bro. That'll be interesting to know why they're not influenced or they don't want to do that too much. Also, let me tell you something. A lot of folks don't like my reactions when it comes down to me disagreeing with them. I don't know. Some of you guys expect me to react and just be okay with everything that I'm reacting. I'm reacting. I'm reacting. If I agree with everything that I I like everything I see, I'll be faking. I'm not a fake guy. If I react to something, I don't like it. I'm not. I don't like it. Okay. If you see a lot of reactors that they like everything that you guys react to it, hey, you might have to double check. But I'm very blunt when they very bold. You know, I would just react if I don't like something. I don't like it. Simple as that. Some of you guys they don't like that, but hey, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. I have my own opinions of things, so I'm okay with that, right? I'm willing to change certain things, but if I don't like something, I don't like that. If I smell something doesn't make sense, something doesn't make sense. Just want to keep it real with you guys, all right? Let's just react to why Europe doesn't build skyscrapers. Let's go.
Why aren't there many skyscrapers in
Oh my
Europe?
God.
Despite being one of the most developed, densely
that?
populated, and economically
Oh,
prosperous
hold up. We have to
continents,
stop. Wow, look at that. Wow, isn't that interesting how this thing is built? Pure art.
Europe has surprisingly few skyscrapers, particularly when compared to Asia and North America. Of the
was that?
218 skyscrapers constructed on the continent to date, 66% of them are located in just 5 cities: London, Paris, Frankfurt, Moscow, and Istanbul.
Wow, you guys look. Wow, that was.
So why have other major European cities not embraced the skyscraper?
Yeah, wow.
How do they thrive without the significant inner urban space and floor
Well,
area
you see
that
little
these
houses.
clever
If you have little
structures
houses
provide?
like that, you don't need to, right? Everything is just I don't know. I'm not gonna say that word, but everything's together, right? Very close together. So it makes sense not to build them, right? Am I wrong with
And
that?
is everything about to change in our increasingly urbanized world?
Some real skyscraper.
When skyscrapers first rose to prominence in the 19th century, first in Chicago and later in New York, many European cities were already firmly established, with grand historic buildings and public spaces that left little room for large new structures.
Yep.
Most of Europe's cities around that time were also more evenly zoned, and were not facing the high demand for floor space in key districts that typically drives high-rise development. Additionally, as the power and influence of
Wow,
North
look at
America
that.
began to grow, a cultural rivalry emerged between Americans who saw Europe's class system as outdated and Europeans who saw some American ideals as eroding traditions and the European way of life. As a result, each continent became wary of adopting the other's concepts. While North America aims to become the model for a new age, Europe sought to preserve its heritage.
It makes sense.
While this
It's hard. I
explains
mean,
why
you have thousands of years of culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to get rid of.
skyscraper construction didn't
Whether it's not a bad or good thing, it's just it is.
initially catch on in Europe, it doesn't
beautiful
explain
building
what
in
has
there.
held the continent back since.
Post-war rebuild. Wow. Look at
In the wake of the Second World War, many thought European cities would modernize and replicate the skyscrapers that were rising across North America. However, in Western Europe, where many cities lost landmark and historic structures, an overwhelming desire to restore what had been destroyed took hold. In addition, the lower population of Europe at that time meant that the demand for floor area that principally drives skyscraper construction wasn't there. As a result, modest structures replaced buildings that could not be saved or restored.
Okay, that makes sense.
Meanwhile, in Eastern Europe,
Wow.
the expanding Soviet
You know what's crazy? I
Union's
went to
rebuilt-
Bulgaria, man, and it looks just like that. Literally looks just like that. Just very plain buildings. And I was staying in a hotel, and the hotel looks like a old Soviet style hotel. Even the the hall that I was playing on the concerts and doing my rehearsals, it doesn't even have handles. It was very interesting.
Build efforts consisted largely of mid-rise repetitive structures that sought to rehouse much of the population. It was during this time that Europe saw its first skyscrapers begin to rise, not in response to growth and prosperity, but in an effort by the Soviets to indicate their power and influence.
Brusselsization?
While Brussels has never constructed a true skyscraper, it is partly responsible for the lack of skyscrapers across the continent.
How so?
Without any significant zoning regulations in place, the 1960s saw many buildings in the city demolished to make way for large, modern structures that had little regard for architectural or cultural value.
Interesting.
Recognizing the damage this indiscriminate redevelopment was doing to the city, many prominent figures and architects coined the term Brusselization and lobbied to introduce new planning laws.
I never heard this. This is super new to me. Brusselization. I need to look that up. Hold up. Brusselization there is a term that describes the indiscriminate and careless construction of modern high-rise building into gentrified neighborhood. Also, we might have some of that here in the United States too. Some of these places that we have here in the state is going to some gentrification. Whether that's good or not, I don't know. Gentrification has its place, I guess, just to clean up some of the bad areas. But man, I never heard this before. This is my first time hearing this term. Huh.
These regulations significantly limited the scale of new buildings and required historic facades to be restored and incorporated into new developments, preserving the cultural fabric of the city. The row in Brussels led to a general dislike for modern buildings across Europe,
modernly beautiful,
with many
remind me
seeing
of
them as
downtown
bland
Brooklyn
or soulless. In response, numerous cities adopted similar regulations and set aside controlled districts, like
Makes
Paris's
sense.
La Défense, to keep high-rise development away from historic centres.
Interesting building, huh?
By the start of the 21st century, attitudes around tall buildings were softening across the continent, as architectural trends moved away from box-like structures towards more unique designs, and as the world became increasingly globalized.
I like that. Wow, man, look at that.
Since the early 2000s, major financial centres like London, Paris, Moscow, Istanbul and Frankfurt have seen several skyscrapers rise, as demand for commercial space in their centres has increased. By contrast, smaller European cities that have been experiencing more modest growth
There's something about
have turned their focus to the environment.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. See, you can keep, bring some modern stuff, but keep some of that conservative side. You can do a nice mix, right? Of both. But look at that, it's beautiful.
And improving living standards.
It costs a lot of money to maintain it too. That's beautiful.
In recent years, urban areas in Scandinavia and Central Europe have consistently ranked among the highest in the world for sustainability, happiness and well-being, while maintaining importance within their national economies. However, skyscraper construction in the cities of today is no longer driven purely by economic growth or the need for commercial office space. With 60% of the global human population set to be living in urban areas by 2030, residential skyscrapers are now rising in prominence, particularly across Asia and North America.
But it's very expensive to live there. Because I used to live in the city, and it's getting very expensive. It gets more expensive than the suburban areas. Quite fast. Faster, of course.
As many traditional rural-based industries become automated, millions are migrating into cities and major urban areas, driving significant demand for residential space that is often met with high-rise structures.
Yeah.
Europe is not immune to this phenomenon,
Beautiful.
particularly in such a heavily globalized world, and with the continent's desire to keep up with the progress and economic growth of China and the US.
Is that London?
As
Is that
such,
Singapore?
Europe could witness
London.
a skyscraper boom
That air looks very unclean. I don't think that's London.
decades ahead. However, with entire urban centres now being declared historically significant, and with the desire to retain as much culture and architecture as possible rightly holding strong up to the present day, the unique challenge facing future skyscraper construction in Europe is all to do with the past.
Very interesting video, wow.
If you enjoyed this video and would like to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, subscribe to the B1M.
Wow, that, hey man, hey, I'm subscribing to this. Very good, man. Like, there you go. Amazing video. Yeah, wow, that was nice, man. Like, yeah, and we as American, we can learn from that. Keeping some of the old culture, and we have to clean up crime. That's one thing. We have to clean up crime. We already have the modern structure. That's good. We are strong in that regard, even in modern arts. But I think we're going way too much. We need to go back and really maintain some of those very important cultural roots. Because if you have a stronger root, your tree can keep rising for millions of years. If we don't have a strong root, things can fall apart. I think Brazilization, interesting. Yeah, you guys have a very strong root when it comes down to culture. So you guys are gonna figure out. You guys know what is correct and what is not correct, right? So you guys are okay. I'm wondering how much has to do with regulations, how flexible the EU is when it comes down to building skyscrapers, and if it is flexible enough, what is stopping these things to just becoming a reality? I don't know. Like always, you guys know more about this than me. Let me know in the comment section below. I'm just trying to figure out Europe culture, and that way I can just learn from you guys' perspective. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next one.